What makes us human?
It's a huge question.
Absolutely. And our guide is a fascinating book called A Most Interesting Problem: What Darwin's Descent of Man Got Right and Wrong About Human Evolution. It's edited by Jeremy De Silva, a paleoanthropologist.
And that title, A Most Interesting Problem, well, that's actually Darwin's own phrase.
Is that right?
Yeah, he used it to describe studying human evolution, called it the highest and most interesting problem for the naturalist.
And he tackled this head-on in The Descent of Man, which came out, when was it, 1871?
February 24th, 1871, yeah. So a good 12 years after On the Origin of Species, he'd kind of laid the groundwork, you could say.
But what strikes me, and it's really quite astonishing, is what he didn't have back then.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, no DNA, no genetics, practically no human fossils, right? Just a few Neanderthal bones people thought were, what, diseased?
Exactly. They were mostly dismissed. And studies of chimps and gorillas, or cousins, that was almost a century away.
So how on earth did he even start to build a case for human evolution from, other animals?
Well, that's the genius of it, isn't it? Pure observation and just sheer intellectual bravery. And that's what De Silva's book digs into.
Right. He brought together all these experts.
12 of them.
Yeah.
Top people like Janet Brown, this historian from Harvard, Ann Gibbons from Science magazine. And they went through Darwin's book chapter by chapter, comparing his ideas from 1871 with, well, everything we've learned in the 150 years since. Genetics, fossils, primatology, and neuroscience. The works.
Okay, so 150 years later,
Yes.
What were the big hits? What did Darwin get right that just, blows you away considering the time?
It's pretty incredible. Okay, get this. He predicted our earliest ancestors would be found in Africa,
No fossils from there.
with no human fossils from Africa known at the time, decades before they were found. He also completely understood we shared common ancestors with apes, and even that things like cooperation, morality, that they had evolutionary roots. He saw our minds developing gradually, not just appearing out of nowhere. So many fundamentals. He nailed them.
That's truly amazing foresight. But the book's title also mentions what he got wrong. And
Yeah.
you said spectacularly wrong, what went off the rails.
Well, yeah, this is where his Victorian context really shows. He, unfortunately, ranked human groups hierarchically, savage up to civilized.
Oof, yeah.
And he believed women were intellectually inferior to men. It's a stark reminder. Even the sharpest scientific minds are shaped by their era.
And some of those wrong ideas had pretty terrible consequences later on, didn't they? Justifying inequality, eugenics.
Regrettably, yes. They were twisted and misused.
Which I suppose brings us to a key point of the book itself. It's not about putting Darwin on a pedestal.
Not at all. It's actually a celebration of how science is supposed to work. De Silva himself writes, even the very best scientists err. Darwin put ideas out there, hypotheses to be tested. Some held up, some didn't. That's the process.
And understanding that process, how science corrects itself, seems incredibly important right now.
Absolutely vital, especially, with all the misinformation and skepticism around science today and the reemergence of some ugly biases. Seeing how knowledge evolves, how it pushes past individual flaws, that's crucial.
Okay, so we're diving into chapter 1 of De Silva's book.
Right, the one titled The Fetus, the Fruit Fly, and the Fish Heart, featuring insights from anatomist Alice Roberts.
And Darwin's big claim in his first chapter of Descent of Man was audacious, really, that humans evolved from some lower form.
Bold stuff for 1871.
Definitely. So how did he argue this without the tools we have now? We'll see how he used anatomy, embryos, and these things he called rudimentary organs. And Alice Roberts shows us this evidence isn't just old history. It's, if anything, even stronger today.
Let's start with that comparative anatomy then.
Okay, so Darwin looked around and saw these incredible similarities, right? Like humans are just variations on a theme.
Exactly. Think about your own arm. You've got the humerus in the upper arm, then the radius and ulna in the forearm, then all those little bones in your wrist and hand.
Right.
That exact same pattern, bone for bone basically, shows up in a bat's wing.
A bat swing.
Yep. And a whale's flipper, a dog's front leg. It's the same fundamental blueprint.
So these aren't just, like, coincidences.
Not at all. These are what scientists call homologous structures. They share that underlying blueprint because they were inherited from a common ancestor way back when.
Darwin spotted the pattern, but he couldn't explain why it was the same pattern.
He couldn't explain the mechanism, no. He didn't know about genes. But today, Alice Roberts points out, we know why. It's because all of us vertebrates share the same basic developmental toolkit. The same genes that build your arm, build the bat's wing and the whale's flipper, just, modified over millions of years.
So wait, my hand. It's basically a modified fish fin.
In a very real sense, yes. Your fingers develop from the exact same embryonic tissue that forms the rays in a fish's fin or the bones in a bird's wing.
That's kind of mind-bending.
It is. We're variations on an ancient theme, as Roberts puts it, written right into our bones. It's not some perfect design unique to us. It's evolutionary history repurposed.
Wow. Okay. So that deep connection leads us to the next line of evidence. Embryos.
Embryology, yeah. And Darwin thought this was maybe his strongest evidence.
And this is where it gets a bit weird, right? Early human embryos looking. Not very human.
Uh-huh. If you looked at a human embryo around 5 weeks old, you'd see something pretty startling. Gill slits.
Actual gill slits. Like a fish?
Well, structures that look remarkably like fish gills, yes.
Okay.
And there's more. The embryo has a tail at that stage, extending past where the legs are forming.
A tail.
Yep. Alice Roberts talks about this in her own work, too. She shows how that tiny 5-week human heart is incredibly similar to a fish heart. We all share that basic body plan early on a tube within a tube, essentially. It's the standard vertebrate starter kit.
And now, with genetics, we can see it's not just looks, it's the actual instructions.
Precisely. Modern genetics completely confirms what Darwin suspected. The very same genes orchestrating development in fish are doing the same job in humans, just, leading to a different outcome eventually.
How far back does that shared toolkit go?
It's mind-bogglingly far. Think about HOX genes. These are the master control genes that map out the body plan, telling different segments what to become.
Okay.
The HOX genes that define the segments in a fruit fly's body. They are variations of the exact same genes that lay out your vertebrae, segmenting your spine.
A fruit fly.
Seriously.
We share that fundamental genetic toolkit, despite our last common ancestor living maybe 800 million years ago.
Wow.
So Darwin was absolutely spot on. Embryonic development is powerful proof of common descent. All us vertebrates start out looking remarkably similar before diverging onto our specific paths.
This makes me think about those examples of what people sometimes call bad design in biology, things that seem inefficient.
Yes. The quirks of evolution. They're actually great evidence for evolution.
Can you give an example in us?
The classic one is the recurrent laryngeal nerve. It controls your larynx, your voice box.
Okay.
But instead of taking a direct route from the brain, it travels down into your chest, loops around a major artery near the heart, and then travels all the way back up to your larynx.
That sounds ridiculous. Why?
Because that pathway made sense in our fish ancestors. Their heart and gills were close together, right near the brain. As vertebrates evolved, the neck elongated, the heart moved down into the chest, but the nerve was already hooked around that artery.
So it got dragged down with it.
It got dragged down and had to take that huge detour. It's terrible engineering if you started from scratch, but it's exactly what you'd expect from evolution modifying existing structures. A beautiful piece of terrible design.
Okay, so we've got shared structures, shared development. What about leftover bits? Things that don't seem to do much anymore. Darwin noticed those too.
He did. He called them rudimentary organs, what we now call vestigial structures. Things that were useful to our ancestors but aren't really needed or used for their original purpose in us.
Like, what did he point to?
Well, the appendix is a famous one. Wisdom teeth. The tailbone, the coccyx, even things like body hair giving us goosebumps, or the tiny muscles that some people can still use to wiggle their ears.
Right. I can't do that.
Most of us can't, not effectively anyway. Darwin argued these were remnants, echoes of our past.
And has science backed him up on these, or have we found uses for them?
Overwhelmingly backed him up. Your appendix. It's definitely a shrunken version of a larger cecum used for digesting plants in many herbivorous mammals. Your tailbone, literally the remnant of the tail you had as an embryo. And wisdom teeth. They made sense when our ancestors had bigger jaws and chewed tougher food. Our jaws have shrunk, but the teeth often still try to come in. So yeah, he was right on the money with those.
Have we found other vestigial things since Darwin?
Oh, absolutely. Besides those ear muscles, there's a muscle called the palmaris longus in the wrist.
Palmaris longus.
Yeah, some people have it, some don't. You can check if you have it by touching your thumb to your pinky and flexing your wrist. If a tendon pops up in the middle, that's it.
Okay, I think I have it.
It was probably useful for ancestors gripping branches, maybe hanging. Pretty useless for most of us today. And then there are embryonic vestiges, too.
Things that appear in the embryo but vanish.
Exactly. Like human embryos develop a yolk sac.
But we have a placenta, right? We don't need yolk.
Correct. But reptile and bird embryos do, and we inherited that developmental step. Those gill pouches we mentioned, they don't become gills in us, they get repurposed into parts of the jaw, the throat, the inner ear.
So they're like evolutionary recycling.
Kind of, more like evolutionary hangovers, developmental programs that stick around because they were part of our ancestors' makeup.
It really paints a picture of layers upon layers of history in our bodies.
It really does.
And speaking of layers of history, if Darwin was amazed by embryos and bones, imagine what he would have made of modern genetics, DNA.
Oh, it would have just blown his mind completely. Because DNA confirms his core ideas in ways he couldn't possibly have foreseen.
How so? We can actually compare the sequences.
We can directly compare the DNA sequences of humans to other species, and the pattern is exactly what Darwin's theory of common descent predicts.
Like how close are we?
Well, you share something like 96% of your DNA sequence with chimpanzees.
96%.
Around 90% with mice.
Yeah.
And even something like 60% with the fruit fly.
60% with the fruit fly. That seems wild.
It is. And remember those HOX genes controlling development? That genetic toolkit is conserved across hundreds of millions of years. The same fundamental genes are at work. It's just staggering confirmation.
Alice Roberts uses that metaphor, palimpsest.
Yeah, I love that metaphor. Like an old manuscript where someone wrote something, scraped it off, wrote something else, but you can still see traces of the older writing underneath.
So our biology isn't a clean slate.
Not at all. Our development, our bodies, they're layered with history. Every stage, from embryo to adult, carries echoes of our fish ancestors, our amphibian ancestors, our reptilian and mammalian ancestors. It's not about perfect design. It's about this incredible, messy 4 billion-year journey.
So taking it all together, the bones, the embryos, the leftovers, the DNA, the picture Darwin started painting.
It hasn't just held up. It's become vastly richer, more detailed, and overwhelmingly supported by fields he never even knew existed. It's a stunning example of how scientific understanding deepens over time.
So thinking about our listener, what are the big takeaways from this first chapter deep dive?
Well, first, I'd say the evidence for your own evolutionary history isn't hidden in some museum basement. It's literally in you.
Right. Your tailbone, those goosebumps.
Exactly. Every time you feel your tailbone or notice those wisdom teeth or even just look at your hand, you're seeing your connection to that vast history of life.
Okay, what else?
Second, you're not separate from nature. You're woven into it. That same genetic toolkit building a fruit fly is building you, just with, 800 million years of tweaks and additions. It's an unbroken chain.
And
Third, evolution isn't aiming for perfection. It's a tinkerer. It modifies what's already there. That leads to what Alice Roberts calls our beautiful imperfections, where these quirky, sometimes inefficient, but ultimately magnificent results of billions of years of, making do and innovating are incredible unlikeliness, as she says.
Darwin felt the evidence he had, even back then, was the plainest evidence that humans came from some lower form.
And he was absolutely right. But as Alice Roberts shows, he couldn't have dreamed how much more plain the evidence would become. It all points to the same place. You are profoundly, deeply part of the tree of life.
Amazing stuff. So next time
we tackle the brain. How have Darwin's ideas about the human mind held up? We'll bring in neuroscientist Susanna Huquilano-Husel to look at what makes our brain remarkable and maybe not quite as unique as we sometimes like to think.
Sounds fascinating. Okay. Until then, maybe just chew on this thought. You carry 4 billion years of evolutionary history inside you right now.
You are quite literally a walking museum of life on Earth.
Show, let's go, open up your mind and grow. Facts and stories, things you never know. Every episode, we light the glow. Step into the world of Mad Show. Turn it up, let the river flow. Feel the beat, take control. Don't be shy, just let it go. This is where the magic grows. Tune in now, it's the Mash Show. Lights up bright and minds will glow. Every day we learn and grow. Come along and join the flow. New ideas begin to shine. Breaking limits, crossing lines. Every moment feels divine. Lights so bright and minds will glow. Every day we learn and grow. Come along and join the flow.